Any career or moments in your life you're in a really intense environment, I think you learn a lot about yourself and about other people from sort of the human aspect. So I think I learned a lot about how I cope under pressure and how to manage my own strengths and weaknesses.
Hi, we are Thea and Tony, the sisters behind the online magazine sisterMAG. In our podcast sisterMAG Radio, we interview inspiring personalities in Germany and around the world.
Hello, dear sisterMAG Radio listeners. Today's podcast guest is sisterMAG friend, supporter, and early contributor Alice Williamson, who was in Berlin in August for a week of creative residency at norn.co. More about that in our podcast. Alice has a very interesting resume, being a dancer, creative, director. Most recently, she worked as company dancer for the well-known ballet company Staatsballett Berlin, before retiring and now concentrating on her multidisciplinary freelance work as art director for photography and film, illustration projects, her ballet skirt line, and so much more. But listen yourself what this creative maven is up to these days. But before we start, I'm back in the studio with Thea. And we talk about Christmas calendars. Yes, it's this time of the year again. We put together 6 individual ones that relate to the movie themes of sisterMAG. And Alice was involved, right?
Yes, exactly. So I have been a big fan of Christmas calendars all my life. I mean, you as my sister knows that, but my host family knows that I actually made so many in my past.
But not lately.
No, not lately. But so I'm really, really happy that we got such big helpers for the Christmas calendar special in sisterMAG. And Alice, as one of our good friends, was one of them. And I actually started brainstorming with her what can be an individual very nice advent calendar, and we came up with the movie themes of the sisterMAG issues this year. And so we have one about Breakfast at Tiffany's that she created, and also another one that she created as well about Mary Poppins. And there you can actually download her exclusive illustrations that she just did for us with a very cute idea for little penguins in the advent calendar.
And they are pretty simple, even for people like me who are not such good DIY mavens.
Yes, definitely. So we have 6 different ones, and they are also very different from the level of craftiness, I would say. So definitely check out our newest issue. They are right in the back of the issue, and they're really, really lovely. And I now hope to fill them for the sisterMAG girls. I have that plan to at least fill them.
And you find all the links in the bottom of the podcast.
Yes, exactly.
And now let's begin with my podcast with Alice Williamson, ballet dancer, creative director, art director, photographer, ballet skirt designer, illustrator, just a creative multi-talent. A long-time sisterMAG friend and supporter, it has been a while since her move back to London. So we catch up on her life today, go back to her start as ballet dancer and what this intensive time has taught her and how she now creates a new life afterwards. We also talk a little bit about her creative inspirations and what she did as creative resident at norn.co. Thanks, Alice, for a wonderful talk.
So I'm so excited to have my lovely Alice today in the podcast office, finally. You're in Berlin. Yay! And we have already talked so much, but I think we can fill another half an hour. I think that will be fine. Yeah. So, but now let's first start, and I ask you my favorite question. Who are you, and what do you do? Well, I guess I will start with, well, actually, I'm not sure. Who am I? Long friend of sisterMAG. Yes, and very long time fan and collaborator. What do I do? I usually start by saying I was a dancer, which is a weird thing to say, but it was such a sort of important part of my life. I spent 10 years dancing as a classical ballerina, and I officially retired 2 years ago, which means I am now still working out what I'm going to do next, but mostly working on projects
and taking things one project at a time.
And that's so interesting that we already talked 1.5 hours about it.
Yes.
But let's dive into the ballet thing first a little
Yeah.
bit, because I think most people are always very interested in it and ask me if I tell them that we know you, and how did it come about? How did you get into the ballet world? Because I know you started quite late for a ballerina, and which is not normal.
No, I think my whole, I would say I became a dancer by accident, and the whole thing was rather unorthodox. That being said, I worked very hard and was very determined to be one. I started when I was 16, which is very late, and I like to think I was fairly normal, in inverted commas before. Like, we always call the other people the normal people because they're not subject to so much rigor. I've always loved dancing, and it's always been sort of my safe place and my favourite place, and when I hear music I always want to move, and it's absolutely my love. But not coming from sort of a background where there were artists and creatives, I didn't know people became ballerinas. I thought that was, they weren't, I don't think I even really thought about them.
As a career or as a thing to do in life.
I didn't, no, definitely not. So I guess when I was 16, I suddenly, one of my best friends went to ballet school, and I was like, wow, she can go, I can go too. This is so exciting. So I auditioned, and I became really, very fixed on this was the only thing I wanted to do. The idea of then going to college and doing academic subjects was not an option. And that was rather stressful, but I did make it in, and I guess every stage of my career was, I don't know, it was sort of not accidental, but unexpected, I would say.
And then, so 16 you entered, and then this was your focus for a very long time. And what were then the next stages? So
I'm not really sure. I think I took everything 1 year at a time. Like the other day I realised that I never really even expected to finish dance college. I always thought they were going to notice that it wasn't the real deal and I was going to be chucked out. And so it was very much, I'm going to get to the end of this year. I'm going to get into end of the next year. And then after my third year, I graduated and
you had set a paper in the hand that you're officially a dancer.
Yeah, and of course that meant nothing because I didn't have a job. So then you go and you trail around Europe on EasyJet flights hoping that some company is going to notice you.
Okay.
And 900 people queue up at the door.
Oh gosh.
And you're sort of hoping that the odds are in your favour. It's all rather traumatic and bizarre. And and then you sort of persevere, and I was lucky and I got a job. But then again, my career was every year, I was like, maybe they're going to notice that I'm not meant to be here. And 10 years later, I was still doing it. And I guess, that's the end.
Yeah. And so in between, you somehow ended in Berlin, right?
Oh yeah, so that was also an accident, although a really happy accident. I was meant to be going and completing that year with Hong Kong Ballet. I don't know if I told you this.
No, you didn't.
So I was working, I had a freelance contract in between starting Hong Kong Ballet and being in Germany. And I was finding it all very stressful. And me and my friend decided to come to Berlin for the weekend. And I was going to retire from ballet, and I was going to stop totally. I'd already done 6 years. And we thought, no, before we retire, we want to enjoy dancing in the studio with the company that we hold in such high regard, which was Berlin State Ballet. So I took class with them, and I enjoyed it so much because I thought it was my last ever class, and I just loved it, and I was throwing myself around the studio, and at the end the director said, would you like a job? And I was like, oh wow, this never happens after all the EasyJet flights and all the really horrible hotel accommodation. Turns out it was really easy to get your dream job.
If you're passionate about it.
Yeah, and it's totally fortune. So that's how I ended up in Berlin by accident. And then I didn't go back to Hong Kong, and I stayed here for 4 years, I think. Yeah. And met you guys.
Yeah, and kind of also developed a lot out of it, right?
Yeah, no,
Did
totally.
you do the ballet skirt thing then already, or also started it here in Berlin?
No, so I got injured after a year of working professionally.
Oh, okay.
And so after my first job, and I then was very determined to make it back as a classical dancer. And the only way I could see doing it was starting my own small business, so I could dictate my own hours, and I could get my physio treatment and audition around it. So I started making my ballet skirts were designed by Alice, which are now rather prolific. So when I moved to Berlin and had completed my 4 years, and I was, deciding it was the end of my professional career as a dancer, I decided to start putting out the feelers again on business and developing and meeting new people and sort of working on the transition to normal life again.
And let me go back to the moment you kind of stopped. I mean, is it like when you are a professional athlete, can you just stop dancing? Because I know it's also from a sports perspective, a career where you work every day, kind of, right?
Yeah. No, I think the process of stopping was rather underestimated. It's a lot more complicated than I envisaged. I thought I'd been planning for 2 years. I wanted to leave the company environment. It was the right time creatively for me to move on. And I'd sort of done all the roles I wanted. So I thought, okay, I'm going to stop, move to London, and it will be simple. But yeah, no, it's not quite as simple. Your body's really used to the endorphins and the exercise. It's also very flexible. So, you need to strengthen it for normal life. You can't just walk down a pavement like a normal person. Something might break or twist. And then emotionally as well, you're so used to having such a system and such a rigorous work ethic.
Yeah.
That's a whole other factor of
I can imagine
to consider.
It's much more structured than a normal life, and especially now you more being a freelancer is the most opposite you can basically do from going from a ballet day to a freelance day.
Yeah, I realised that in retrospect, and I was like, oh, that was rather silly. I do love a challenge. I suddenly realised I had to reprogram my whole way of thinking and approaching things.
Yeah.
Because, before you very much have to sort of believe in the status quo and follow orders, follow demands. And, of course, now I go and propose things in meetings and I'm leading teams and creating all the time for myself. So, that's been a huge, huge overhaul and reteaching.
I can. And are there things that the ballet time has taught you for now your new life?
I think so. It's interesting, I could have a whole other podcast on ballet.
We can do another one.
Another one.
One day.
I think you need visual demonstrations.
We do one with your illustrations,
Oh yeah, definitely. A whole film. What's it taught me? I don't know, really. I could say 100 things. I think any career or moments in your life you're in a really intense environment, I think you learn a lot about yourself and about other people from sort of the human aspect. So I think I learned a lot about how I cope under pressure and how to manage my own strengths and weaknesses. So I'd say that's probably the thing that it's taught me the most, and maybe to have courage and be braver in a way that I wouldn't have done before. To think about this stupid dream, being a ballerina, and to sort of have accidentally have made it. I think that taught me that really sort of perseverance and sticking at things, you can achieve things, which I guess I think that's a big and good lesson.
It's an important lesson, because I think the average person doesn't believe in her or himself that much that you can achieve anything.
Well, I still don't really. I have to look at paper and pictures and be like, no, you did do that and you were a dancer, because otherwise I'd be like, nah. But so that's probably the nicest thing that it taught me.
Yeah, but a very good thing in life. Yeah.
In the second part of my interview, I asked Alice how her many side projects during her time as a ballet dancer came about, something not very common among professional dancers, and how those creative outlets have helped her to transition into her career after dancing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why or how.
But you did.
I did. I think I get very excited about things, and I'm an outputter, so I sort of learn information, I learn things and I want to create or respond emotionally or physically to stuff. I think a key reason I was so prolific as a creative when I was dancing was because dancing is so finite and you have so little of a legacy left. It's all in the moment, and that's so beautiful and poetic, but you've also got nothing left behind and nothing really to share unless the audience has been there in the room with you. And so this idea of creating stuff that had sort of a longer narrative was really appealing, and I wanted to create solid things and have solid friendships too, and create things that wouldn't disappear. The moment you stop dancing, you lose the muscle condition, it's gone. It becomes this beautiful memory, and I think creating stuff was more tangible, and so that was a really good balance. And it was also a really good balance because dancing is very competitive and very stressful. And so to do something totally different sort of took the pressure off the harder moments.
Yeah.
And I guess I wasn't challenged enough as a dancer either. I loved it, but it didn't totally satisfy me.
Yeah.
And so I was always finding other ways to make up for that lack personally.
Luckily, because that's how we met. And
exactly.
And how we collaborated, like from...
years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
I found that picture when Thea spoke to you on Instagram, and I was so excited to meet sisterMAG because I'd seen you from Pinterest or something. I was like, wow, I'm going to meet like a real magazine and do stuff. But I can't remember what our first project was.
Oh, I can't.
Maybe it was the front cover, was it?
Yeah, maybe the one with
the snow scene.
The snow scene, yeah, with the snow, with the deer and the paper deer and so. They were still downloaded a lot during winter time.
Very good. Yes, I need to make more table DIYs on those projects.
So you see, they have a long life.
Exactly.
And how did those side projects help you then to transition now into kind of your second career life? Yeah,
it's really interesting. I often wonder. I think I was really helped by the internet in a way that it wouldn't have been possible 10 years before.
Yeah.
Like my whole ballet career doesn't exist online, and that's another weird thing about the memories. These days, if something's not online, did it really happen? And I have to remind myself, no, you really did live in Hong Kong for a year. But there are no pictures. Am I sure? But anyway, I certainly my first design work as a toy designer was people have found my like little creatures I used to make on Pinterest. So that was internet, and then. When I was a dancer, I started photographing a lot behind the scenes and sharing my work on Instagram.
Yeah, and I know the pictures of all your friends at the Staatsballett.
So that's how it all happened. And I guess I have the internet to thank for that.
The internet, not all evil.
Not all evil. In moderation, it's fine.
Yeah, I think as everything. In moderation, everything is fine. And... what are your creative outlets or creative projects you're working on right now, if you want to share?
They're not all top secrets. As ever with creative projects, they're very fluid at this stage. There's lots of things. I'm continually drawn to storytelling and this multidisciplinary approach to communicating. So collaborating with other performance artists, but also using my sort of now significant experience in many other visual forms of communication, so from film to photography, illustration, toy design, puppetry, and to try and make and communicate real stories, I guess, that have magic in them. That's not a very good answer to your question, but those are the sort of projects I'm drawn to. So taking people who maybe produce something wonderful but don't have their own voice and working with them to create new and hopefully enchanting things. So the things that I've been working on, I've just produced a film. I co-directed it with this wonderful director that I met a couple of years ago in London. It's a dance film to Anna Silvera's music, which was really satisfying and fulfilling and interesting from a dance perspective to suddenly be behind the camera and sort of all the years of movements that and knowledge.
I remember because you were always so critical, kind of like when non-ballet dancer did a photography of ballet dancers.
Yeah, that's like a sore point. There's so many, especially these days, the internet, you just see all these pictures and you're like, that's not really how I want my art to be presented. And of course one can't be controlling, but knowing about movement, you know how much more can be expressed. Film projects, and then also actually another film project coming up, which will be really interesting and maybe linking to like a mixed media performance, so with dancers and film interacting between. And then I'm always drawn to puppetry and illustration and animation, and I really want to sort of see where I can take that as a keen storyteller and a very excited communicator. So.
And with illustrations, are you still, or the last time we visited you in London, you showed us that you do now a lot of iPad illustrations. Is this still something you're following?
Yeah, I have. I find the iPad really nice because before, I don't know, I think there's when you create something, when you're drawing on paper and you're tired, you knock over your coffee and you've ruined your work, it's sort of rather like, it's so disappointing. The idea of testing something new when you're not in sort of perfect mental condition as like a illustrator or painter or whatever, it sometimes feels a bit of a mission. The iPad's really lightened my sort of relationship with creating and drawing, because I know I can just delete it. I'm not going to be wasting materials. It's not going to be like chucked in the bin and I have to go and look at it in the bin for the next 5 days. You know, I delete stuff and it's gone. So I think that's really changed my relationship with drawing. Whereas before I was quite a reluctant drawer. Now I really enjoy it. It's like a means of meditation because my less successful projects don't have to hang around and haunt me for a couple of days. And
I like the one where you, was it an elephant you drew in the tube?
Oh yeah. I like that too.
I like that.
It makes me laugh because I guess that was an Instagram post that you saw.
But I like elephants, so, and I like the tube.
All those things, and it was an elephant and castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about the iPad and social media. You can just communicate your sort of sense of humour. If it's funny to other people or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But it was something that tickled me and I wanted to draw it, and that was a good example.
Yeah. So if any listener wants to see the elephant and follow Alice on her Instagram pages.
Yeah, that could happen.
Yeah, please do. We will of course link to it.
Perfect.
Then you see more of the elephants and the castles.
Very good.
And when we just talked about creativity, do you have any influences you go to when you feel like exhausted or don't have like a creative spark? Or for example, because I just noticed I need to feel bored to write.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I'm best writing when nothing else is happening. Or I don't have any access to anything and I'm just in my head, then I get started, like I form sentences in my head.
I'm not sure yet. I still feel like there were so many years when I couldn't do all the projects that I wanted, but I still have a lot of things that I want to bring to fruition from all those years of standing as a swan in line and being so bored that actually I'm still trying to complete projects or ideas that I felt were exciting. Of course, it's difficult to keep the inspiration going with a project. You started and it seems absolutely brilliant and you're totally high for days. And then you get to actually bring it into life and you're like, oh my gosh, this is such a mission. But I do find that I sometimes have too many ideas in my head and that I need to go and find someone to like chill out. Yeah. Because that's the thing I find the hardest. So then I like to go to the sea or the forest and climb trees or do, be with nature. Yeah. I think would be where I go. And I guess that's where I'd also go for inspiration. Yeah. I feel like sense of, like support, being at one, it sounds so cheesy, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, I know
being in large expanses of space, it sort of brings everything into perspective. And I love the wind. The wind gives me so much like physical energy, and that's what calms and inspires me a lot of the time.
Yeah, I understand that. I get that from watching the sea when it's like wide.
No, it's just the most perfect tonic for anything. Yeah. From calming down to being inspired. Just go to the sea or hug a tree.
Go to the sea. Yeah.
Hug a tree is also like a very important thing.
Yeah. A big tree.
A big tree, yes, exactly.
We close our talk with a quick chat about Norn.co, a collection of intimate homes around the world that create space for questions and conversations to unfold. Alice was staying in their Berlin house for a week and hosted thereby a conversation salon.
So I was really intrigued, and I'm still obviously discovering exactly what they do, but it's a really nice concept. They are really encouraging conversations with it, offline, say the non-digital world, and I think their strapline is to give people at home a sense of away and people away a sense of home. Oh, okay. So this idea of bringing people together, creatives from different industries and connecting people, maybe retraining us to communicate in a way that we might have forgotten in the last couple of years with all the pressures and the digitalness. So I'm creative in residence, it's called. at the moment, I just seem to be happily chatting to people.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is nice. And on Thursday, I'm going to host my own conversation event, which I'm really excited about because I have no idea what's going to come up. Yeah, exactly. You guys are coming, and I think it'll be really interesting to sort of, I've carefully considered my topic, which is on the shape of stories. It's deliberately loose and oblique, so they'll encourage hopefully lots of different interactions and reactions. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how people interpret it, and I'm sort of inspired. I now want to host my own salons and just as an experiment on my friends to see what they come up with. But I really like the idea of engaging in conversations, and their space is beautiful. You know, you go to the space and you're like, this is such a lovely space.
It's like a nice space, and you live in there right now?
Yeah, I'm living in there, but I think they invite lots of people to join in the conversations. Okay. People don't, it's quite an intimate house, so we only have about 5 rooms, I think. Okay. So they also encourage creatives from the outside to join their candlelit dinners or stuff. I mean, it's all very lovely, but also really interesting. And I think worthwhile, you know, most people are going, have their own business, or they're artists, and they're, you know, considering things and nice.
And it helps. I mean, maybe you, those kind of conversations also give you new ideas for where you are on a roadblock or so.
Yeah. And also sort of that camaraderie. I think so often when you're starting your own thing, you know, you can feel quite isolated. And it's nice to have that sense of, no, it's okay. Like, I came across this issue, and I also, you know, that sort of sense of support.
Dealt with it in this way, maybe I can help you or get you in contact to get you out of this corner and get going again.
Yes.
I think this kind of camaraderie, what you said?
Yeah, camaraderie.
Is important, especially
and
if you're
community too. I think the other thing, sorry, totally butting in, but I think I feel passionate about is when you end up sort of freelancing and travelling the world, you haven't got that sense of people, you know, that sense of community and that feeling of home. So I think that's a really lovely idea. Whether they can pull it off or not, I don't know, but it's nice to think that you will meet the similar people in any of their locations,
and then it's kind of like home again.
Exactly, and I think they would love that as an advertisement. I'm going to totally tell them.
Okay, and so for finishing up, tell us a little bit, what are your next things after leaving Berlin? Are you doing any traveling or so in the next time?
Because I really want to travel.
Because I love your travel pictures from the ocean.
Yeah, if somebody wants to sponsor me to travel,
then get in contact. Yeah. We need more pictures.
Get in contact, totally, and sort of underwater scuba diving. Travel is something that I've really enjoyed these last 2 years. Obviously, I couldn't travel much as a dancer. And I realised it was really important.
It opens up the...
and like there's all these cliches. Also, it's just so inspiring. Somebody who's so excited by visual things. To see all these colours and then smells and, you know, all these different things. But sadly, I don't have that many exciting travel plans on the horizon, as in I've got none yet.
But there will be. Sorry to ask you this.
Yeah. But I have just had a very exciting summer, which you've seen through all my pictures.
Where would you love to go? What would be like your place you would be most interested if you had like free choice?
I think the place I'm still really drawn to is under the water. Yeah. So one of my dreams straight after ballet was to learn how to scuba dive, and I went and got my PADI, and then this summer I went and got my advanced over in Komodo National Park, which was so magical. You know, there's dragons roaming the islands, and then you're in the sea with manta rays and sharks, and it's a whole other world, and it's so beautiful. So bizarrely, I think my wish would be for a sea-based adventure rather than a land-based adventure. I want to go and see different colours and different fish and different plants, and like I love nature and gardens and flowers. And now I'm getting really interested in corals and fish and all these things. I've got so many books on it now. Going down and being like, ooh, this is so interesting, this is this. And it's just such an inspiring environment.
I know what I get you for Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alice, so much for taking your time and speaking with me. I think it's not the last time.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
We'll still be friends. Thank you for inviting me.
And then we see tomorrow. And if anybody is interested in norn.co, have a look. And especially have a look at all of Alice's exciting projects.
Thank you again for listening to sisterMAG Radio podcast today. If you enjoyed today's show, we would be delighted about your Apple Podcast or SoundCloud subscription. Also, a positive rating or comment helps a lot. And we need your help to get the word out about the podcast. So if you like it, please feel free to share a screenshot on Instagram or Instagram story, tweet about us or write on Facebook. No matter how, it is just great when you talk about us. Simply link to @sister_mag so we can thank you.